In today's video, we're going to take a look at how we can command and control ARCHICAD using the Alt key. The Alt key works as a modifier for other combinations of keys or clicks, and we're going to run through and look at some of the main functions it performs. So the first one we'll look at is one of the most essential ones in ARCHICAD. It's how we can pick up and set the defaults for a tool. So the way it works, let's zoom in. If I move across to a wall here, for example, hold down the Alt key, you can see it highlights, and that's what's going to be selected. So if I now click again, another little flash, but you can see the wall tool is now active, and I have an external wall as the type selected here. If I Alt click on an internal wall, you'll see the defaults change, and I now have an internal. So basically what this means is if I draw a little piece of wall, I have an internal wall. If I Alt click on this wall, I now get an external wall, and we can even do this with any element at all. So I can actually Alt click on a door, and now the default door type is the single door. So as I say, we can Alt click on any element, and that will capture all of the settings and set them as default. So the next logical step is once we've actually picked up settings, we want to use them somewhere else. When you're working in a model where you've already drawn and created lots of data, there's often times when you need to modify something to make it look or appear the same as something else that's already done. And there's no point going through the process of setting everything again manually. So what we can do is show an example here. If we zoom in, here's a good example because I've got lots of different types of wall construction that's going to visually show what happens. So the first step is we pick up parameters. So let's just go grab this internal wall. And what I maybe want to do is change this party wall to be just a single partition. I'm sure the structural engineer will have nothing at all to say about that. But anyway, so all we do is hold down Alt, but this time because I'm in Windows, I'm also going to hold down the Control key. If you were on a Mac, you would hold down the Command key with the Alt key. And all we do is we highlight the element we want to inject the parameters to, click the mouse, and it's done. So I literally just Alt Control and click. So to do that again, let's pick up a party wall from here. So Alt click, and then Alt Control or Alt Command click, and that transfers the parameters into that other highlighted element. This works with all sorts of elements. So I can pick up from one door and inject into a different one. Maybe I'll undo that because that's probably not what we want in our dining room. The one thing you need to remember when you're using the inject or transfer parameters option is you can only do this within elements of the same type. So you can take settings from one wall to another wall, you can take it from one slab to another slab, you can take it from object to object, but you cannot go from a door to a window or from an object to a stair or from a wall to a slab. They must be the same type. This next function is an old school one. Basically, on occasion you may want to move the origin within a view, and what we can do is use a button that's located up here on the top of the screen that you click and then you go choose where you want to move the origin to. But instead of doing that, if you know the keys and your hand's near the left hand side of the keyboard, Alt Shift, whether it's Mac or PC, Alt Shift, and you'll see what that does is very quickly shift the origin to wherever the mouse happens to be. As long as I have a tick mark or an intersection symbol, we can move the origin. So I can drop it to this bottom corner, we can move it to the paving, we can move it to the top of the door, we can move it to the base of the light, whatever we want. It's just Alt Shift to shift it around to whatever we need it to be. The last function to look at with the Alt key is its use as a shortcut modifier. There's a few of these, but there's actually only a few of them I use on a regular basis. The first one is really quite a useful one to know is Alt and F2. And what that does is, as you can see with the drawing frame, as I click it on and off, that enables or suspends the trace and reference function. Another one I use quite a lot, is probably the one I use the most, is to enable or suspend grouping. I've zoomed in on this area so you can see what this shortcut does. As I say, it's one of my favourites. if I select this table, you'll see it's selected individually, but it shows based on the corner points that this is actually part of a group. What I can do is very quickly Alt-G, and what that does is enable grouping, and it then picks up the other elements that are in the same group as the selected element. So I've gone from one element to 6 elements. I can now move that as a group. If I want to move something individually, Alt-G again, that suspends the groups, and I can then reselect whatever the element is, maybe move it across slightly. If I do my Alt-G to reactivate grouping, you'll see this is now back acting as one set of grouped elements, and it behaves in that way. So it's just a nice simple filter. Alt-G to switch grouping on and off. I've zoomed to this different area so we can show this example. This is Alt-E, E for element snap, and what it allows me to do is if I've got something selected and I start to maybe drag, for example, you'll see there's the various node points that highlight, and what that wants to do is snap to other elements. And if you're in a particularly busy bit of a drawing, and if you're at a detailing stage and there's lots of things going on, that can actually get in the way of things. So a simple Alt-E suspends that, and you'll see there's now no snapping. Alt-E enables it again, and I can snap and actually put these chairs completely back to back, for example. There's a pile of other shortcuts that the work environment uses depending on your settings. You can check those by going to Options, Work Environment, Keyboard Shortcuts, and then you pick this button down here, and this will generate a list of all the shortcuts in use by your ARCHICAD.